let's talk about the Wano arc. The Wano arc ended back in 2022, and it's currently the longest arc in One Piece. Wano was first mentioned during the Thriller Bark arc, but it wasn't until Punk Hazard where Oda started to build up the arc. During the Punk Hazard arc, the samurai from Wano received lots of hype, where it was stated that they were so powerful that not even the Marines would mess with them. After many years to build up, we finally see the Wano arc, and let's just say I personally have some mixed feelings when it comes to the arc. First, I want to point out that I do not dislike Wano, and there are plenty of moments that I really did enjoy from the arc. For example, I really enjoyed the roof fight, Luffy vs Kaido, the focus on Sanji's character during his fight against Queen, the Whitebeard and Roger moments during the Odin flashback, and I also really did like Gear 5. The Robin fight was also really great as well, and when it comes to the Wano characters, Queen, Ulti, and Control were definitely my favorites during the arc. But now let's talk about other stuff regarding Wano. First off, the island itself. I will admit, the actual country of Wano was kind of a letdown. Other than the flower capital and I think Hakumai, most of the regions in the country, in my opinion, just didn't look that great. Most of the regions were nothing but wasteland. Now, to be fair, this is mainly because of Kaido and Orochi's fault. But when you have years to build up the country of Wano, only to see that most of the country is nothing but a complete wasteland, is kind of disappointing, especially after seeing Taro Land. Next up is the Samurai of Wano itself. Now, as previously mentioned, the samurai were stated to be so strong that not even the Marines would mess with them. Now you are thinking, we are going to see a bunch of very strong samurai, right? Right? Well, yes and no. The only strong samurais of Wano end up being Odin, who is dead, and the Scabbards. Everyone else just end up being pretty much fodders, and no noteworthy samurais. So yeah, other than Odin and the Scabbards, the whole thing with samurai end up being kind of disappointing. Then there is way too many characters. Because the arc was so long, Oda introduced so many characters, and many of those characters pretty much did nothing. Remember the Oniwan Banchu, or the Mima Moa Gurumi? Or what about the Yakuza leaders, or the numbers? Remember Hote? Same Hote that would end up getting one shot by Yogoro? Or the countless of random smile users? Remember Hold'em? Yeah, whatever happened to that guy? Next are the fig-out deaths. The most noble ones were Orochi, Kinemon, Kiku, and Kanjo. Out of all the fig-out deaths, the one that still makes me angry is of course Kinemon's fig-out death. You had Kaido using advanced Conqueror's Haki and striking Kinemon on the head, and then finishing him with a stab. You think, wow, Kinemon's done for, yeah? No. It turns out that not only did his body get cut in half, but he is still alive. The excuse for him still being alive, apparently Law didn't attach his body together that well, which in my opinion was just a BX excuse to have Kinemon survive. Kinemon surviving also wasn't a good look for Kaido either. Speaking of Kaido, other than his fights, Kaido in my opinion ended up being a really disappointing character as well as villain. His overall character and him as a villain just ended up being a huge letdown. There was so much potential for Kaido, but he ended up being kind of a generic villain at the end. If you compare him to characters like Doflamingo or Enel, Kaido doesn't even come close to those villains. To make things even worse for Kaido, his flashback was absolute trash. That was the worst backstory I've ever saw. Also, the flashback was 4 panels, I believe. Yes, 4 panels, not 4 chapters. Imagine having years to build up the Kaido's character and wanting to see his backstory, only to get the most boring, generic flashback ever. Even Big Mom had the way better flashback during the whole Island arc. Oh yeah, then there's Big Mom. Now, I enjoyed Big Mom during the whole Island arc, and I personally found her to be more interesting than Kaido. However, Big Mom during the Wano arc was another huge letdown. Throughout the Wano arc, Big Mom was made to look like either a joke or be used as a plot device. And other than a few certain scenes, her fight against King Law, in my opinion, wasn't that great, especially if you compare it to the Kaido fight against Luffy. For a Yonko fight, the Big Mom fight really wasn't the best. Although the fight was more better in the anime. Then there's the Scabbards. This one will be quick, but after the roof fight, both Denjiro and Kamatsu didn't really do much. Kamatsu just became fodder control, and Denjiro went missing for a majority of Act 3, only to appear at the very end to kill Orochi. At least Inu and Neko fought and defeated Jack and Perospero, and Raizo had his ninja fight against Fukukuju, as well as teaming up with Jinbe to put out the fire. Speaking of fire, Oda having Contra create the Konsembo to create more fire and add even more false danger was something I don't think we needed. Now let's get to Yamato. I'm sorry to anyone who's a Yamato fan, but her character, in my personal opinion, was one of the worst parts of the Wano arc. Her overall character was just I'm Odin non-stop. Even when it seems like she was going to be her own character, she always went back to the whole I'm Odin persona. Yamato didn't feel like her own character at all, and to make things worse, Oda kept hyping up Yamato on joining the Straw Hats, only at the very end for her to change her mind and not join. It made all the moments with Yamato during the Wano arc pretty much feel like waste. Also, other than Luffy and kind of Frankie, Yamato barely interacted with the other Straw Hats. And finally, the ending of the arc kind of felt rushed. It seems like Oda really wanted to move on from that arc as well. Well, anyways, that's pretty much it. What are your thoughts on the Wano arc as a whole?